What happens when a beloved company that revolutionized an entire industry suddenly turns its back on everything that made it special? Southwest Airlines wasn't just another carrier moving people from point A to point B for nearly 5 decades. This audacious upstart became the 5th largest air carrier globally, operating with profit margins that left competitors stunned. They flew more passengers than Lufthansa, generated more revenue than Air China, and somehow managed to make customers genuinely happy about flying. Magic wasn't accidental. Southwest offered free checked bags when others charged fees, provided flight credits that never expired, and maintained open seating that felt refreshingly egalitarian. Their customer service became legendary, their employees among the happiest in aviation, and their profit margins reached an astonishing 20% in an industry where 5 to 10% is considered excellent. This wasn't just business success. It was a philosophy in action, proving that treating people well could coexist with extraordinary profitability. The heartbreak begins. Then everything changed, seemingly overnight. That free checked bag you relied on. Now $35, those flight credits that never expired. They have deadlines now. The beloved open seating that made Southwest feel different, replaced with assigned seats and extra legroom sections that cost more, created by literally reducing everyone else's space by an inch. In one devastating year, Southwest dismantled 50 years of goodwill and brand loyalty. But this wasn't simply corporate greed finally corrupting a previously benevolent leadership team. The real story runs far deeper and more troubling. A hostile force had infiltrated the company, forcing it to abandon its core principles and transform into just another faceless airline squeezing customers for every possible dollar. This is a story of how big finance destroyed one of America's most cherished institutions, and why it matters to every single person who flies. Born from a cocktail napkin, the Southwest story began in 1966 at a San Antonio club, where entrepreneur Roland King met with his lawyer Herb Kelleher over cocktails. King had been watching Pacific Southwest Airlines succeed in California and believed a similar low-cost carrier could work in Texas, connecting San Antonio, Dallas, and Houston. Legend says he sketched the routes on a cocktail napkin, creating what became known as the Texas Triangle. Texas's unique geography made this idea possible. The state was large enough that driving between cities for business was impractical. Yet staying within state borders meant avoiding federal regulation from the Civil Aeronautics Board. This regulatory gap allowed Southwest to set its own flight schedules, rates, and frequencies, while competitors remained constrained. When existing airlines fought to block Southwest's entry, spending nearly $500,000 in legal battles, they failed. By June 1971, Southwest launched with just 3 Boeing aircraft and an audacious dream, building something different. Early decisions shaped Southwest's destiny in unexpected ways. Initially focusing on business travelers, they stumbled upon weekend leisure travel when a Friday evening repositioning flight became surprisingly popular. This discovery led them to create a revolutionary tutor pricing structure, offering discounted rates for flights after 7 in the evening. It sounds ordinary now, but this innovation was groundbreaking and became critical to their economic model. Their decision to stay at Love Field instead of moving to Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport was unjust practical. It became their identity. They embraced the Love branding with warm colors, heart symbols, and a playful messaging approach that made flying feel joyful rather than transactional. Combined with competitive fares, first-come boarding, no baggage fees, and point-to-point flights instead of traditional hub-and-spoke networks, Southwest created something genuinely unique. By 2017, they had achieved 45 consecutive years of profitability. The perfect storm, December 21st, 2022, started like any other winter day in Denver. Then at 4 in the afternoon, temperatures plunged from 42 degrees to just 5 degrees in 60 minutes. Winter storm Elliott had arrived, and Southwest's operations began unraveling in ways that exposed decades of underinvestment in technology and infrastructure. While other airlines experienced limited delays, Southwest's unique cost-cutting measures created a cascading disaster. Their open basket desing equipment, cheaper but exposing workers to brutal elements. Men's staff had to be rotated frequently to prevent frostbite, crippling capacity. Their proprietary SkySolve software, designed to manage disruptions, took 25 minutes to propose solutions that were often outdated before implementation. As cancellations mounted into the thousands, the system simply collapsed. Flight crews waited hours on hold to report their locations, preventing them from accumulating mandatory rest hours. By Christmas, Southwest had lost track of where their own employees were. When technology fails, the meltdown's scope was staggering and entirely preventable. Over 15,000 flights canceled during one of the year's most lucrative travel weeks, resulting in over $400 million in lost revenue. Add $600 million in passenger compensation, hotel costs, and rebooking expenses, plus a $140 million Department of Transportation fine, and the financial damage exceeded $1.5 billion. But the brand damage proved far worse and longer lasting. While United, Delta, and American returned to record profitability as pandemic travel rebounded, Southwest moved in the opposite direction. Profits dropped from nearly $1 billion in 2021 to just $539 million in 22, then $465 million in 23. The airline industry was booming, yet Southwest was bleeding money. The low-cost carrier model that had worked brilliantly for decades was suddenly failing, and Southwest found itself uniquely vulnerable for the first time in its history to takeover. June 2024 brought the news Southwest had dreaded. Elliott Investment Management, perhaps the most notorious activist investor firm in America, purchased a $1.9 billion stake, representing 11% of the airline's equity. When Elliott buys into a company, it typically signals radical restructuring, ruthless leadership changes, and a singular focus on shareholder value over all else. For Southwest, famous for prioritizing people and culture over pure profit, this was existential. Elliott's demands were immediate and uncompromising. Chairman Gary Kelly and CEO Bob Jordan had to go. The airline needed to fundamentally transform its business model to match traditional carriers. Southwest resisted initially, implementing a poison pill strategy to prevent Elliott from gaining more control. But behind closed doors, they recognized the inevitable. If they didn't compromise, Elliott would turn shareholders against them. The battle lines were drawn for Southwest's soul, and ultimately, the airline that had resisted change for 50 years began surrendering its identity, piece by piece. The aftermath and what we lost today, Southwest looks increasingly like every other airline. Reserved seating replaced the beloved open boarding. Baggage fees arrived. The no-layoff policy that defined the company's culture ended in February 2025. 5 Elliott-nominated directors now sit on a 13-member board, and Gary Kelly has retired. But what did we really lose? Southwest's business model struggled for only 2 or 3 years after succeeding phenomenally for nearly 50. Their unique value proposition created genuine competitive advantage and customer loyalty that money cannot easily rebuild. Now competing head-to-head with industry giants using the same strategies, Southwest has sacrificed what made them special for short-term profit optimization. Customers lose as fees multiply. Employees lose as the culture that protected them erodes. The only winner is Elliott, proving once again that activist investing often destroys long-term value while extracting short-term gains. If you found this story as fascinating and troubling as we did, please subscribe to Orphic for more deep dives into the forces reshaping our world. Hit that like button and drop a comment sharing your experiences with Southwest or your thoughts on activist investing. Have you noticed these changes affecting your travel? Do you think Southwest can ever reclaim its former magic, or is this transformation permanent? We read every comment and love hearing your perspectives. Join our community for more stories that matter, and let's keep this conversation going together.